Hey guys, in this project we're going to be building a doctor directory application. Alright, so basically we'll be able to have a home page where we have a select box with a list of states, which you could obviously change the type of location. And we'll choose a state, and then those doctors will pop up, and then we can click on their profiles. Now, I want to just grab a template that we can work with, and this is a template available from freecsstemplates.com that I think would fit. It's very simple. We're not even looking for really any kind of great design. It's just something to use to display the application. So I'm going to go ahead and download this. Alright, now I also want to mention that we're going to be using Apache Cassandra for this project, which is I don't know if it's actually considered a NoSQL database. It's actually a column database. Okay, so it uses columns which are very similar to tables. Alright, so let's see, Apache Cassandra. Alright, so basically, if we go to download, there's a few different ways you can download it, different ways for Linux, but what we want is this DataStax Community Edition, because this includes a Windows MSI installer, which makes it really easy to use. So what I want to do is, in this video, I want to install Cassandra and maybe just show you around the command line client that comes with it very briefly. And then in the next video, we'll set up that template that I just downloaded. Alright, so let's go to the DataStax community website. Alright, and there's a bunch of different versions here. I'm on a Windows 64-bit, so I'm going to grab, let's get the stable and recommended version, which is this. Okay, close that out, we don't need that. And it's just going to start downloading. Okay, it's 144 megabytes, so it's pretty big. It comes with a few different things. It comes with the DataStax Ops Center monitoring tool, which is a browser-based tool to manage your databases and your data centers, things like that. Cassandra is basically built to scale. It's made for enterprise level businesses. Well, I shouldn't say it's made for them, but it's a great scalable database to use for enterprise businesses. Alright, so that's done. I'm going to go ahead and open it. And we're just going to go through real quick. Okay, program files is the default location. Automatically start DataStax Cassandra community service. Yeah, we'll just keep those checked. That way we don't have to manually turn it on. Yes. Okay, so it'll go through these processes. Service is starting. Alright, so click finish, and now it should be installed. Okay, now it comes with this Cassandra CQL shell, and we'll be working with this a little bit just to set up our initial databases. Now, it's not actually called a database when creating these things. They're actually called keyspaces. Alright, so a keyspace would be equivalent to either a database or a schema in a relational database. Alright, so let's just say create. Well, first of all, we can describe the keyspaces, which means just show them. So we can say describe keyspaces. Alright, so we have system. We have the Ops Center application that has its own database, and then system traces. Okay, so we can create our own. So we'll say create Keyspace testDB. Now we have to define the replication, and don't worry too much about this. This just has to do with replicating between data centers, basically for big enterprise type applications. But we need to specify it. So we're going to say with replication, and we're going to set that equal to an object which has a class. Okay, for the class, it's going to be simple strategy. All right, so there's basically two that I know of. Simple strategy is used for databases that will have single data centers. If you're using multiple ones, you use the network topology class. All right, and then the next one, the next I guess value or variable that we need is replication factor. And this just has to do with the amount of replications that you want. So backups or whatever, copies of the database. So let's just say 3. All right, so now if we go back and say define or describe key spaces, you'll see we have testDB. All right, now if we want to use it, we'll say use testDB. Now when working with Cassandra, what we're going to be doing is using CQL, which is Cassandra Query Language. And if you have used SQL in the past, then you should be very comfortable with it because it's basically the same thing. As far as what we're going to be doing with it, it's pretty much the exact same thing. All right, so we say create table. Now a table is a column. I believe you can use create column as well, but basically whether I'm saying table or column, they're pretty much the same thing. All right, so let's go ahead and create a table, and we'll call it users. All right, so we have to define the schema we want. All right, so I want an ID. Now, it's not going to be like SQL where it's going to create an ID of 0 for the first and then auto increment up. Basically, if we want an auto ID, then we want to specify what's called a UUID, which is basically it's a long string of numbers and letters, but it is unique. All right, so let's say we want ID. All right, so we have to specify the type of field, which is going to be UUID. All right, now we'll also want a name, and the name will be a text field. We'll have email, which will also be text. We would have username, which would be text. All right, whoop. And I think that's good just for demonstration. All right, so that should create the table for us. Whoops. Okay, so we didn't define a primary key. Okay, so we want the UUID to be the primary key. Actually, you know what? We're going to have a few primary keys because it works a little different than it works a lot different than a relational database. Don't let the CQL fool you. The inner workings are much different. So basically, I'm going to define a bunch of primary keys because in order to do things like sorting, order by, and things like that, you want to specify anything that you want to do sorting or anything with as a primary key. So at the end here, we can say primary key, and then just have some parentheses here, and let's pass in ID and email and username. We might as well do name as well. All right, let's see if that works. All right, so now let's say describe table users. Okay, so this gives us a bunch of information. Gives us the actual query that was ran. All right, and some other stuff. Gives us the primary keys. Now to get information, we can use simple select statements. So we'll say select all from users. Okay, we obviously have nothing there, so let's insert. Okay, so we'll say insert into users, and then we want the field name, so we'll say ID, name, email, and username. Okay, and then we'll say values, and then we want to put in our values. So for the ID, we gave it a type of UUID, and we want that generated. So we can use a few different functions for that. One of them is going to be now. All right, so that'll actually generate a unique ID for us. Okay, name, and actually these should be in quotes because this is a string. All right, what else do we have? Email. All right, and then we'll have, let's see, what is it? Username. I'll just say tech guy. Okay, so now if we go back and say select all from users, you can see that we have all the fields, all right, because we said select all. We could just say select name from users, and it'll give us the name. So you can see it's basically SQL. All right, so we're taking a little break from the MongoDB object JSON format and using SQL basically. All right, so I think that's a good introduction to Cassandra and CQL. In the next video, we're going to go back to the template and work on the interface, and then after that, we will start with the node, and we're going to be using the Cassandra driver module in order to communicate with the Cassandra database. All right, so I'll see you in the next video.